Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage. I have been driving around for about 20 minutes looking for a place as beautiful as this absolutely gorgeous brand new 2026 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy Hybrid, and I think I found it. This is an absolutely gorgeous little spot here. Got a little babbling brook next to us, and man, look at this house, like monkey trees, beautiful yellow leaves, and of course, Mount Sham in the background. So yeah, I think I found a place that matches the absolute stunning beauty of this new 26 Palisade. So I know a lot of you are excited to see this video, so I hope I get it right. I'm gonna go over the entire vehicle from front to back to inside and take you on a little drive. Now, if you haven't already seen my video on the 26 Palisade Luxury, be sure to do so. I'll leave a link in the description below. There might be a little bit more information for you there on that vehicle, and of course a lot of it will translate to this one as well. All right, let's get started. All right, one of the biggest improvements of the hybrid over the non-hybrid Palisade is of course the horsepower and torque. This one coming with 329 horsepower, 339 foot-pounds of torque. That horsepower and torque of course being made by this 2.5 liter turbocharged inline-4 mated to an electric motor and a 6-speed automatic transmission. Very, very cool combination. This nice fellow just asked me if everything was good. Of course, we got the hood open on the side of the street here. But anyway, so as you can see under the hood, very, very neatly laid out system here. You can see the turbocharger back there. The engine, the vehicle is technically on at the moment, so the engine may actually light up in a moment here. But yeah, just have a look around at how well they've kind of covered everything. It's got nice plastic coverings on the side here, rubber seals everywhere. And that, of course, is to reduce engine noise, road and wind noise. You've got matting insulation on the firewall in the back there, insulation over the wheel wells, insulation underneath the hood. Everything looks absolutely fantastic. This, of course, is one of Hyundai's SmartStream engines. So the continuously variable valve duration in this, of course, which is a nice technology to give you higher compression or lower compression depending on when you need it. And you'll also notice there's no 12-volt battery here. That's actually in the back. So that's where we're gonna go in a little bit. But let's check out the rest of the front end of the vehicle here. So we got the nice smooth Hyundai badge. Now, to the keen observer, you may notice that this is a matte finish paint. This is the special edition NHL version of the Palisade Calligraphy, available here in Canada. Not sure if you'll get this color in the United States, so keep that in mind. But yeah, this is the matte finish white, which is kind of cool, specifically on the NHL version. On the front of this beautiful vehicle, we have the little shutters here. These will open and close as the vehicle requires extra or less cooling. So basically when they're closed, it's a little bit more aerodynamic. Those flank the forward-facing radar system, which of course is used for autonomous braking, as well as the adaptive cruise control. In the big grille here, we've got the forward-facing camera there. Now that's the one that you can actually see on the instrument cluster. And then up in the windshield, you can see we've got a couple more cameras. Those, of course, for the autonomous braking, lane keep assistance, lane departure warning, lane centering, pedestrian detection, cyclist detection, junction turning detection, etc., etc. All of those, of course, being used for the safety systems. Right above that in the windshield is the the rain sensing sensor. So that is for rain sensing wipers. And then you can also see we've got parking sensors along the front and parking sensors along the back as well. Now, this of course does have a party trick, and that is the Smart Park system. So let me show you that next. All right, so to operate Smart Park, we first need to remote start the vehicle. So using the silly egg-shaped key fob, we'll go ahead and remote start. And then on the side here, you can see we've got some buttons. And hopefully this will let you hear the pedestrian warning sound as well. So I'm gonna hold the front button down. There is no one in the car right now. All right, let's move backwards. Can you hear that pedestrian warning sound? How cool is that? So if you've arrived back at your vehicle in a grocery store parking lot and some yahoo is parked a foot away from you, you can use the key to back the vehicle out of the parking spot. Super cool. It's a very, very helpful technology, and honestly, At first I thought it was a gimmick, but when my car had it and I was able to use it to move my vehicle in and out of the garage when my clothes were dirty and I didn't want to get into the car, that was a great benefit to me. But I have come back, we've all come back to our cars, and you know, some yahoos parked way too close to it. So pretty nice little feature there on the calligraphy. Now also on the front you can see we've got the LED turn signals here. Now they don't actually flicker like that in real life, that's just because of the camera's refresh rate. That is next to the LED headlights and the LED high beams as well. Automatic headlights and automatic high beams, by the way. Now those yellow flashing lights, those are normally actually your turn signals, but also your daytime running lights as well. All right, coming around the side of the vehicle here, we have Pirelli Scorpion mud and snow tires. This is a 265, 45, and 21-inch aluminum alloy wheels. Pretty nice looking wheels actually. And one of the nice things about the calligraphy is you do get body colored fenders as well. So none of that black plastic along the side there. All right, going further back to the side mirrors. The side mirrors do have mirrors or cameras on them, of course, because of the 360 camera system. Marker lights on there as well. And also they are auto dimming, and they have the blind spot monitoring light in there as well for you. Door handles are backlit, I believe. Yeah, there's a little LED light behind there that will come on as you approach the vehicle. However, they no longer have the puddle lights on the mirrors. However, the mirrors do fold automatically. So it's funny, they get rid of one feature and add another. But yeah, you do still have the light in the back of the mirrors here, or in the back of the handles here. And there is, of course, the proximity entry as well as digital key capability. So as long as you have your cell phone with you, you can go up, open the door, get in and start the vehicle. You don't actually need your cell phone, or sorry, you don't actually need your key fob with you. Roof rails are separate from the roof, so even if you don't have the cross rails, you can still make use of these roof rails. And then coming further back, we have the fuel door on the correct side of the vehicle. Around the back side here, got those beautiful LED tail lights, hidden exhaust tip. It's actually underneath. No fake exhaust tips on these because Hyundai thankfully hasn't done that yet. Now, these ones can tow. I believe the tow rating for the Palisade Hybrid is 4,000 pounds. Despite being a hybrid vehicle, still very capable in the towing department. You'll notice we have the backup camera right here and the little nib right above the camera. That's actually the little sprayer. You can spray off the camera if it gets dirty, which is quite nice. Parking sensors along the bottom here, and a rear wiper is actually tucked up underneath this little wing, which is kind of nice. There's our rear view camera, which is awesome. That's that hydrophobic camera. And one of the nice things about this vehicle is the Smart Power tailgate. So the tailgate will actually open itself up if you stand behind the tailgate for 4 seconds. And it's actually going to open up high enough for somebody who is 6'2" like myself to stand underneath the tailgate. So good height on that as well. In the back here, very, very wide opening. As you can see, there's just an absolute ton of space in here, and lots of power options with all of the seats. Let me go over these with you real quick. So first off, this button right here will control all of the seats. So if you want to make all of the seats come up, pull this handle, or this button rather, and all of them come up. If we push it, all of them go down. Now, if you want to control either the second or the third row independently, you can do that as well. So you can see right here, this button will switch these controls from second to third row. So right now it's on third row. So if I pull on this button right here, that means that the third row right side seat is going to come up. And if I pull on this one, then the second one, or the left side comes up. Now, if I want to control the second row, all I got to do is press this button first, and then I can pull those, and there we go. The second row comes up. Now, not only can you fold the seats with those buttons, you can also move the seats forwards and backwards using these guys right here. So if I hold this button down, sorry, I'm just going to show you which button I'm pressing here. This one here, you can see now the right seat is moving forwards. And believe it or not, you can do that with the third row as well. The third row also slides forwards and backwards. So I'm going to bring these up so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so if I hold down this button now, the same one I just did, the right seat is going to slide forward. Look at that. So even with the seats up, there's still actually a pretty reasonable amount of space back here. Comparatively speaking, in the market, this is some of the best cargo space behind the third row. Now, there is a little tiny bit more space under the floor here. You can see we've got our tire mobility kit right here. And this one is, let's see what this one is. Oh, this is the trailer hitch, that's right. This actually comes with a trailer hitch, so that's the hitch receiver. Pretty awesome. Here's where our 12-volt battery is, and there's a little storage right there. Now, the tire mobility kit is, of course, because this does not come with a spare tire. That's becoming more and more common these days. However, have a look. There is lots of space under there. If you really wanted to get a spare tire, you could. You do need to get a spare tire kit so you can hang it up underneath there. So that's kind of nice. All right, but now let's jump into the vehicle and have a look at each row independently. We're going to start with the very third row. So I'm going to go ahead and press this button right here, which will move this seat out of the way. And you'll notice there's actually a button at the top here as well. So if you have a toddler that can't reach that button up top, they'll still be able to reach this one. Now the seats do move forwards and out of the way in this sort of configuration so that you can keep a child seat in there and not have to worry about this kind of collapsing in on the child seat. Okay, so we're going to do this live so you can see exactly what it's like to get into the third row. There we go. Easy. Right off the bat, you can see we've got some, I should probably close the door because we're on the street. Right off the bat, you can see we've got some buttons on the side here because we can actually move this seat forwards and backwards, just like that, see? Right from back here, and we can also recline the seat like that. Pretty awesome. So there's actually quite a bit of luxury even back here. Get this out of the way. We've got LED lights. They're touch sensitive lights. That's pretty cool. Nice touch. And of course the vent here, which can move around. Beautiful headliner. This of course is that nice suede headliner. Heated seats back here and 100-watt USB-C ports for every passenger. There's lots of USB-C connectivity in this vehicle. Now, the real question is, how is it going to be sitting behind the second row? Well, absolutely fine. There is so much space in here, it's not a problem. I'm going to go ahead and slide that second row seat. Let me see if I can do that from here. Yes, I'm going to slide it until it's right in front of my legs. There we go. Okay, so that's pretty good. Very, very comfortable, good headroom here. The seat base is actually pretty high off the floor because these seats do kneel out of the way when you fold them down, and they come back up when you fold them up. So yeah, very, very reasonable place to be, even for somebody who's 6'2". All right, let's get into the second row. All right. Okay, there we go. And I have plenty of space up here. Now, of course, I can move this seat back if there's nobody sitting behind me. So let's move it back all the way and just see how much space we have. Okay, now we've got lots of space. And this seat is in a very, very comfortable position for somebody who's 6'2" right now. As a matter of fact, it could easily go further forward. I'm just noticing it's at the same distance as where I had the driver's seat. So the driver's seat, I had it back quite a ways. It could go forwards if it needed to as well. So there's just an absolutely phenomenal amount of space in this vehicle. We have a nice cushioned armrest in the second row. We have peasant blockers, sunshades, and little icon right here that will warn us if there's a car coming down the road so we don't accidentally flip the door out and lose the door. Cup holder in the door as well as a cell phone holder. And if I open the door, you can see there's an additional pocket down here for a bottle. And this also has, as you can see, some ambient lighting. So there's ambient lighting in the second row and the first row. Hard to show you in the first row because there's just a lot of sunlight today, but yeah, ambient lighting. 64 available colors you can choose from, and they all go by the user that's logged in. So each user can have their own color. There are 3 users. First user, second user, and a guest account, so that's kind of nice. We've got grab handles on the ceiling as well as the B pillar. LED lights there, vents in the ceiling. We've got, looks like a microphone up here, possibly a temperature sensor or both, because you can actually access the voice recognition system from back here. You've also got ventilated seats in the second row, heated seats, and full control over the temperature back here. It's actually automatic climate control back here as well for the second row. The armrests on the seats, another cool function. Check this out. They can actually ratchet up. So if you lean the seat back and you want to have the armrest level, you can do that. Or if you have the seat upright, you can still basically put the armrest wherever you want it, which is pretty cool. And let's have a quick look at actually all the controls on the seat itself. Check this out. So second row seat is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like 6-way adjustable. And then this button right here is for the relaxation seating option. Check this out. So the seat's going to go into sort of relax mode. And then go back to where we left it. Super awesome. Now, one thing you might not see on camera, this interior is actually really dark brown. Maybe a hint of green in it as well. Kind of tough to see. It's a beautiful interior though. Also back here for the second row, we have a nice little drawer. Lots of space in there. Now this drawer, unlike previous Hyundais with the drawer back here, this drawer is not accessible from the center console. So it's a nice storage location for second row passengers. That of course is below the 150 watt, 115 volt outlet. And then you can see we've also got 100 watt USB ports in the backs of both of the front seats. Nice solid seat backs with generous sized pockets as well. Last thing to note is we of course have the second panel sunroof back here. So yeah, good amount of luxury for the second row. But of course, most of the luxury features are going to be experienced in the first row, so that's where we'll go next. First, we'll check the passenger side, then we'll jump in the driver's side. Let's go. All right, jumping in the passenger side of the Palisade. So first off, you can notice we've got 2 bottle holders in the door. Nice long door handle, so even if you have short arms or long arms, you'll still be able to grab that door handle quickly and easily. Really actually helpful if the wind grabs your door and pulls it open suddenly. You don't have to think about it. You can just grab that handle. On the seat itself, again, these are beautiful seats. This is actually the Napa leather interior, so that's the other thing you get with the calligraphy trim. Really nice seats. Actually got some metal inserts there. Looks great, perforated leather, but lots of manipulation on the seats. So this one is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-way adjustable passenger seat. And this one does also have the relaxation seat capability, but it has the added benefit of calf support. And you'll notice that calf support is going to come up in a moment here. There it goes. Look at that. So very comfortable place to be for the passenger. Now the driver's seat is fairly similar, but we'll go have a look at that in just a moment. Other things to note on the passenger side, you have this nice little sort of parcel shelf here, maybe a cell phone shelf. It is rubberized, so stuff that you put in there is not going to fly around. Okay sized glove box, nothing special. Nice sort of open grain wood. I don't know if this is real wood or fake wood. It's probably fake. I mean, it is after all still a Hyundai, but it does look and feel like real wood. Looking at the center console, 2 big cup holders here with the little sort of retractable things, which is kind of nice. And you'll notice this UVC button. That actually will turn on UV lights in here to disinfect whatever it is you want to disinfect. Pretty cool. You know what? Let me show you what that looks like. All right, you're going in. There's the lights. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and close the lid. And now I'm going to turn on the UV lights. Check that out so you can see those. I'm sure they're on by now. Go ahead and turn them off. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and open up the lid. Let's see if they stay on for a moment. I doubt it. So 3, 2, 1. You can tell me. All right, let's take you out of there and continue on. Now, one thing I forgot to point out when I was sitting in that second row seat is these buttons on the side of the passenger seat. So what this allows is the second row passenger to actually move the seat forwards and backwards, even putting the seat into that relaxation mode. So there's your backrest adjustment, and then of course, I'm moving. We can slide the whole seat forwards and backwards. So if you just want to tell the person in the second row, hey, go ahead and put my seat wherever you need it to be, you can do so, and then they can move it for you, and if you need to tell them to stop, you can do so. All right, so sitting here in the passenger side, again, very, very comfortable passenger seat. Lots of space, as you can see. Headroom is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, I can still move this seat. I'm gonna go ahead and move it all the way back and lean it back a little bit and put it down, and you can see just how much space. They've done such a great job with the overall space in this vehicle. There's easily 6-7 inches above my head there. My legs are all the way stretched out. Tons of space in here. The only complaint that I have with this interior is the center console. It's a nice looking console. It's got everything you need. You got your USB-C ports, 100-watt charging, your UVC capability, your wireless charging pad right here. All of that's well and good. What I dislike about it is the fact that you have, this is good as well, this storage location down here, but it just seems like this whole chunk is just not necessary. There are several inches here that could have been easily, cut off. You could have just ended this console right here, and then this space would have been larger. This little gap right here seems completely pointless to me. So I know that what they were kind of going for was styling, but I don't think the style would have been that much worse if this whole chunky bit wasn't here, and it would make it a lot easier to get down to this stuff, because you've got a little partial shelf right here and then storage down here, as well as a 12-volt outlet. And there's nothing back here necessarily, but this is just kind of blocking that whole area, making this kind of awkward to get to. And it's frustrating because honestly, this interior is so well put together and so well designed, and then that is just kind of silly to me. I really don't think they needed to do that, and it wouldn't have taken away from the style if this wasn't here. So anyway, let's jump into the driver's side. I don't think there's anything else to talk about on the passenger side. So let's check the driver's side and we'll go over all the features. A lot of bugs here. All right, so I had mentioned earlier about the passenger seat having 12 ways of adjustment. Well, this is gonna blow your mind. Check this out. Now, this seat obviously has all of the same adjustment, plus a few extras. So we were at 12 with the lumbar support, but this lumbar support goes up and down as well, so that's 13, 14, and of course you have the bolsters, so that's 15 and 16-way adjustable driver's seat. It's just absolutely crazy. And of course, this does also have the relaxation seating capability as well. So just a wonderful place to be. Very, very comfortable seats. Now, the seats are also memory, and the driver's seat has the massage feature as well. So that's what this button is right here. So it'll do either just a pelvic or just a lumbar or both massage capability. Pretty awesome. But then, of course, you have the memory seating and mirrors for both of the driver accounts. So there's technically something like 4 or 6 memory positions. I can't recall if the guest account has its own memory positions, but I know that the driver 1 and 2 both can make use of both of these buttons independently of one another. So that's pretty cool. On the door itself, we have controls for the child safety lock mechanism that does the doors and the windows. All the windows are auto up and down. And then we, of course, have the control for the mirrors here, as well as the control for the power folding capability right in the center there. Pretty nice. Again, 2 cup holders or bottle holders there. And yeah, let's jump in the car and go over the rest. All right, now we're sitting in the most important place of the 26 Palisade Calligraphy, the driver's seat. All right, so man, one thing, it's kind of cool. As soon as you sit here, you start to feel like the captain of a ship, because yes, this is a very large vehicle, but there's also a lot of controls. One thing that Hyundai has done really, really well here is they've kept a lot of the physical controls that we're all so used to. And, while they do have some touch-sensitive things here, there's still lots of buttons and knobs to turn, which is great, because those things, honestly, the muscle memory is just easier to figure things out where they are, that sort of thing. The one thing, of course, that's very different is the start button location. That's now on the shift stock, which, of course, was also different a couple years ago, but now it's sort of more normal. But let's start with the left-hand side of the vehicle and move our way to the right. So right here, we have our dimmer switch, our hold button to open up the tailgate, This will open up the gas door. This will put the vehicle into tow haul mode. We have a power e-brake, which is automatic as well, so you really shouldn't ever have to press this button. And our traction and stability control right here. The steering stalk is controlled with this handle. It is tilt and telescopic. A little bit unfortunate to see that this one does not have the power adjustable steering column. On the left side of the steering wheel, you can see we've got our headlight controls. There's our auto high beams as well. On the right side, we have our window wiper controls. It is, of course, automatic wipers. One thing I will point out that's kind of cool, anytime you adjust the headlights or the wipers, it will show you in the instrument cluster which setting you're on, so that's kind of cool. The auto setting does have multiple layers of aggressiveness. Basically, that's what this little knob right here does, is it adjusts the aggressiveness of the auto wipers. And of course, it has rear wipers. You can push the stock away from you to clean the rear window, pull it towards you to clean the front window. And when you're pushing away from you to clean the rear window, it also cleans the rear view cameras. Check that out. So if I spray this here, there we go, it's cleaning that. But again, it is that hydrophobic lens as I referred to earlier. But let's put the vehicle into reverse and do that again. There we go. As you can see, it's cleaning the rear view camera there as well. So really cool. It kind of does all three things all at once. Okay, on the steering wheel, we have controls on the left-hand side here. These are your drive controls as well as controls for the center screen here. On the right-hand side are all of the multimedia controls, which we'll get to in a little bit. But let's talk about the drive controls first. So cruise control, adaptive, of course. This is how you turn on your adaptive cruise control. This will increase or decrease the speed or pause and resume it. This one here will adjust the distance between you and the car in front of you. Over here we have our lane centering and lane keep assist button. So a lot of people don't know this, but if you hold this button down, you will enable and disable the lane keep assist, which is that icon right there. So if I hold that button down, boom, now it's off, okay? If I simply press that button, I can turn on and off the lane centering, but I do need to be in drive for that, apparently. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it into drive. Lane follow assist system, meant. Okay, why is that not working? I guess I have to be on the road for that to work. So ignore that. But that's where you turn on and off the lane centering capability as well as the lane keep assist. Steering wheel has little lights in it, actually. Check that out. So I didn't realize that those were lights. So that is the Morse code letter H, 4 dots. But if I change the drive mode, check that out. They actually change color. How cool is that? So there's red. If I put the vehicle into reverse, it also turns those red and puts on the backup camera and tilts the mirrors down as well. By the way, if you don't like the mirrors tilting down, all you need to do is put the switch, let's move back over here, the switch for the mirrors, if you put it in the middle like that, then the mirrors will not tilt down. So that's how you do that. Okay, so these two buttons right here, they will go through all of the settings on the instrument cluster. So let's do that real quick. Ignore the little flashing lights here. You do not actually see that in real life. Those are infrared lights, so you can't see that. This is actually putting a little matrix of light on your face so that the camera can determine if you're actually looking down the road or not. But yeah, those don't actually flash like that in real life. You can't see that. All right, so looking at the instrument cluster screen here. So there's the button on the top, this one right here, will slide across the three sort of main screens, okay? So you'll notice those three lines at the bottom there. And we're going to start at the top of this particular screen. So currently we're looking at our trip computer for this trip since we started the car. Now, if we scroll down one using the little scroll wheel underneath that, this guy here, okay? So we'll scroll down one screen. This is since refueling. Now, obviously, the liters per 100 kilometers is going to be very inaccurate. This vehicle will do, if I remember correctly, it's like 7 liters per 100K on average, which is phenomenal for the size of the vehicle. And if we scroll down one more time, we have since our last reset. Again, it's going to be inaccurate because the car spends a lot of time sitting and not moving while running. So just keep that in mind. So if I want to reset this now, all I need to do is hold that scroll wheel down and boom, there we go, can reset it. We'll scroll down again. Here we have our engine temperature, and then we have our tire pressure monitor, and our drive power distribution. So this will show us where power is going to. In all-wheel drive, basically all wheels will be powered at during any sort of acceleration. And I say in all-wheel drive, it's always all-wheel drive. As a matter of fact, if you put it into eco mode, it will still be all-wheel drive under acceleration, but then it will kind of taper off to front-wheel drive a lot faster. In sport mode, it will stay in all-wheel drive. And then my drive mode is customizable. You can kind of mess with it. All right, we have our idle mode here. This is the screen that shows what's going on with the engine or the electric motor at any given time. So currently it says idle mode because we're just sitting here, we're not moving. But if we were to start driving, you'd start seeing little lines kind of going from the motor to the wheels. And it's also showing our battery level there. Our battery level is not something that you can manage. It's all done by the car. All right, we'll scroll one more time, and we got a digital speedometer, but we actually had a digital speedometer over there, so now we have two. The reason this digital speedometer is here is because you can actually put this side into sort of an analog mode, so you have an analog speedometer and a digital speedometer. And if I scroll down one more time, it just bounces back up to the top. So let's hit that top button again to swipe over to the right. Oh, there we go, engine just came on. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna show you that other screen there that we were looking at. See, now it's showing us that our engine is going through an electric motor / generator and charging the battery. Okay. All right, so here we're looking at a compass. However, if we were navigating, this would be our turn-by-turn directions. All right, so now with navigation enabled, you can see we have our turn-by-turn directions there on the screen. Now, just a real side note, as you can see, the turn-by-turn directions are now also in the windshield there with the head-up display. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, that's where that is. You can also see our speedometer there, as well as how far it is to the next turn. We've got the speed limit on the left there. It's currently blank because it just doesn't know what the speed limit is here because we're not driving. So yeah, turn-by-turn directions, speedometer, speed limit, lane assistance information, all of that will come up on the head-up display. Okay, going back to this little center screen here. If we press that top button, there's nothing else in this screen. So we press that top button again, takes us over to our drive information. So basically what's around the vehicle. So if there was a car in front of us, it would show us there. If we were drifting over the lines would flash, that sort of thing. So drive information surrounding the vehicle, what's going on around the vehicle. And then also has our turn-by-turn directions on this screen as well. Okay, so that's pretty much everything within these buttons here. So let's talk about the instrument cluster itself and what can be seen on the instrument cluster. So obviously you got our speedometer on the left here, tachometer on the right. However, if I go back into eco mode, it's not just a tachometer, it's also sort of our power meter. So when we're using power, whether it's economical or lots of power being used or the vehicle's charging. So obviously whenever you're slowing down, it'll go into the charging location there. On the bottom left corner, you can see we've got our e-brake turned on right now. We have the vehicle in eco mode. It is currently running and ready to go. It's 15 degrees outside. The gear that we're in is park. We're currently in EV mode because the gas engine's not running. There's our battery level, and then on the bottom right is our overall odometer. On the left circle here, the other thing to note is here's your fuel gauge. Look at this though, 828 kilometers of expected range, and we're not even quite a full tank. So spectacular range on this vehicle. Now, of course, it's a gas vehicle. We're not talking about an EV, but even still, I mean, not having to refuel for another 830 kilometers is pretty phenomenal. All right, on the back of the steering wheel, we also have these paddles, plus and minus. Those are to shift gears up and down. I don't believe they do the regenerative braking. I'll see if I can figure that out though. And we're gonna get back to these buttons when we go over the infotainment screen there. So we'll move on to the, let's see, we talked about the center console already and the space in front of it. So nothing really to talk about there anymore. The climate control here, it is of course dual zone automatic climate control, so technically 3-zone because it has the rear climate control from up here as well. And as a matter of fact, you can see we've got the heated seats and ventilated seats up here. We can turn off the passenger side completely, which is kind of cool. We have knobs for the temperature on both sides, and there is 3 levels of automatic. So it's not just automatic climate control, it's actually 3 levels of aggressiveness. The reason that's kind of nice is because some people don't want to have the fans at full speed, but still want to keep it on automatic, and you can do so with this vehicle. Of course, there is a sync button on the other side here as well. That's pretty standard. The heated steering wheel is the entire steering wheel, all 360 degrees around it, and there's 2 levels of it. It doesn't just have to be on or off. You can put it on high or low, or off, obviously, and every time you press a button, it makes a nice little animation. So you can just get, double feedback that you did indeed press the button properly. Now you can also use voice recognition for a lot of this stuff. So if I press the voice recognition button, I can say, turn on the heated steering wheel.
Turning on the heated steering wheel.
There we go, now it's turned on. I will say this though, I have to give some criticism to Hyundai here. The voice recognition systems in their vehicles are getting dumber. So the cool thing is I was able to just turn on the heated steering wheel. What I can't do is use voice recognition for the navigation system until I have my BlueLink set up. Now, BlueLink is free for 3 years in Canada, and quite frankly, it may end up being free forever, but if there's no BlueLink signal, if there's no network signal, it's not going to do a lot of stuff, and that's unfortunate. So for those of you who like to use the built-in navigation system as an example, I can't just press the button, find a Hyundai dealership.
Sorry,
See?
I didn't understand.
It has
that.
no idea what I'm talking about. Now it says more features available if BlueLink is activated. So when BlueLink is activated, yeah, you could just do that and it'll figure out and it'll navigate you to Hyundai. But the fact that you need to have BlueLink and network connectivity, that's not cool. And you know what? It's not just Hyundai, really. I mean, a lot of companies are doing this. Google does it as well. If you don't have an active network connection, obviously your Google Voice Assistant is going to be incredibly limited. So even if you're using Google, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay, your voice recognition is still not going to work for navigating. But the fact that you need to do that is kind of frustrating because, quite frankly, all they needed to do was recognize some very key words. Navigate, find an address, find a route to. There was not a lot that they needed to kind of remember. And older Hyundais could do this without BlueLink. So the fact that that's getting worse and it's getting dumber is stupid to me. I was a technician for 17 years, and I hate to see technology and capabilities reduced simply for the requirement that you have to have a subscription. I hate it. It drives me crazy. So I would never use the built-in navigation, but for those who do, that's frustrating that you need to have a BlueLink subscription. So come on, Hyundai, do better. All right, let's move on. So that is your climate control system there. Right above that, we have all of the controls for the multimedia system. So we have our power button, which of course turns on and off the stereo, like the actual radio, or if you hold it down, it turns the whole screen on and off. And by the way, both screens are non-polarized, so if you're wearing polarized sunglasses, you can still see both screens very, very easily. We have the home button, which will always take you back to the home screen. Now, depending on the vehicle that you have, sometimes the home button will take you back to a different screen. Don't fret, you can actually customize this screen. So all you got to do, let's say this is your home screen and this is how you always want it, but when you hit the home button, it takes you to like the third one over or the second one over for some weird, silly reason. All you got to do is take these things and move them into the second screen, just like that. So you can customize exactly what layout you want with this multimedia screen. It's awesome. This system is phenomenal, and it's almost as good as some of the best ones out there. I wouldn't say that it's as good as, like, for instance, Tesla has a phenomenal infotainment system. It's kind of hard to beat that one. This one is damn good, and the screen is big enough. Like, it's not the biggest screen in the world, but it's big enough, and it's certainly not too small, like you would see in some screens from some other brands. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about that too much as far as what I do and don't like about it, but I will show you exactly how to use it. Over right here, we have the search button. This is a really nice search button, actually. This will open up a global search, which will search for addresses, set up stuff. So if you're looking for settings for the radio, for instance, multimedia things. So if you're looking for a particular song title, and if you have a phone connected, it'll search for contacts as well. So it'll kind of do a global search for everything in one space. Media will just take you to the media screen where you can choose what media you want to play. We have a hazard button there, of course, seek and tracker, obvious. We have the star. Now this is a customizable button, similar to the customizable button on the steering wheel. You can kind of make these buttons do whatever you want them to do. So you can choose all of these different options to make that button do that thing. So if I make it so, for instance, phone projection. So now when I press this button, it'll open up Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, depending on which one we have connected. Setup, of course, will take you to the setup screen, which we'll go over in a bit. We have the tuning knob here, again, which is pretty obvious. And then there's a little tiny button right there. That's a reset button because this is a computer, and like all computers, every now and then it might glitch or freeze or something like that. That'll allow you to reboot it easily. Okay, buttons flanking those multimedia buttons are your auto hold, which will stop the vehicle from moving when you take your foot off the brake, your drive terrain selector, and of course your drive mode selector. So drive terrain, the reason there's a drive terrain is because in the regular drive modes, we'll just go ahead and press one of these modes again here. So we have eco mode, which of course is going to be the most fuel efficient, sport mode, which is going to be the opposite, gives you the most power, keeps the engine running more, that sort of thing. My drive, which is customizable, which we'll go over in a little bit. But if I press the drive terrain button, you can see it moves over to the terrain stuff, and we have snow, mud, and sand. But if you don't move that toggle switch right away, it goes back to drive mode. So I'm going to press terrain, go to snow. Snow mode will start you off in second gear. It kind of starts you off in lower power, but it also increases the aggressiveness of the traction stability control system and keeps you in all-wheel drive as long as possible. We have mud mode and sand mode, which of course also kind of change the transmission shift points and the all-wheel drive system to compensate for mud or sandy situations. Now, I don't have the means to show you two cars operating side by side and comparing their all-wheel drive systems and whatnot. I simply don't have the help to do that. I would need a photographer, a videographer to come along with me, and I would need to basically borrow cars from multiple dealerships. And it's just, unfortunately, at this level in my YouTube career, that's not really an option just yet. I have to, if I can do a side-by-side comparison between two cars, I'm really lucky. But other people have done all-wheel drive comparisons on the Palisade versus the competition, or other Hyundais versus the competition. And Hyundais always do exceptionally well. There's a gentleman who did a video where he put a whole bunch of a whole bunch of SUVs up against each other and then took them through these various off-road scenarios. And they were all compact SUVs, so it was the Hyundai Tucson. The Hyundai Tucson absolutely trounced pretty much every other vehicle, and it came out on top because the all-wheel drive system is that good. And it's funny because even just like 3 or 4 years ago, it was fine, but it wasn't the best. And now it's damn near the best. It's a really, really good all-wheel drive system, capable of putting power to independent wheels as necessary. And it's going up against the best in the business these days. The Palisade is the same. It has the same all-wheel drive capability, and it's not transferring power to the rear wheels using an electric motor in the rear like some brands. So to give you an idea, Toyota likes to put a drive motor in the rear, and that's your all-wheel drive. The rear drive motor is controlling the rear wheels. With a Hyundai, you have your engine, your electric motor, your transmission, and then from your transmission, there's actually a prop shaft that goes to the rear. So there's a solid physical mechanical connection from the front to the rear, and that's why you still have a gear tunnel or a drive terrain tunnel, not a gear tunnel, a drive terrain tunnel, drive shaft tunnel, whatever, going to the rear because of the fact that there's actually a drive shaft there. So it's a really, really good all-wheel drive system. Take one out on a test drive in the snow. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's phenomenal. And if you have the XRT Pro, it's even better like that. It's phenomenally good. Anyway, I'm talking about this way too much. Let's get back on topic here. Okay, so we were talking about the infotainment system. We were talking about the buttons on the side here. So that's your drive terrain and toggle switches. On the right-hand side is your hill descent. This one's kind of silly. Hill descent assistance doesn't work all that well. Only works up to 40 kilometers an hour, which is fine. But I think it only works down to as little as 8 kilometers an hour, which is not good enough if you are going down steep terrain on the dirt. So Parking sensors, that's where you can enable and disable them. And if you hold the button down, it will turn off the parking collision avoidance assistance. So if you want to turn that off temporarily, you can do so by holding that button down. And then our camera button. So if we press that button, it brings up the camera system on the screen here. Okay, let's have a look at these cameras. So first off, good high resolution cameras all around. And Hyundai does something with the dynamic steering lines that is freaking awesome. So if I turn the steering wheel all the way to the left, you can see where the front of the car is going to go, but you can also see that the side of the car is going to come out a little bit. So if I put it into reverse, same idea. It shows the swing of the front of the vehicle. And you'll also notice that that line changed color to a bit of orange there because there's also, it's funny, there's actually a moving tree in that spot. So the parking sensors are picking that up as well. Now, of course, we have dynamic steering lines on the big screen here as well, and it's all very, very smooth. There's some really, really good, there's the parking sensor. There's some really, really good refresh rate on those lines. It's really, really nice and smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back into park here. Turn the cameras on again. So we have this nice top-down view. We can zoom in and zoom out on this top-down view a little bit, not much. Yeah, it did it for me there. There we go. Yeah, it's kind of weird that you have the option, but you do have the option. Now, if I press this button here, that puts us into that 360 mode. Look at that. How awesome is that? Let's have a look at that house next to us. That is a beautiful house there with some beautiful trees in their yard. So I'm able to look all around the vehicle using this 3D mode. It's super awesome. The nice thing about this is it kind of gives you an overall sort of view of what's going on around the vehicle. That was perfect timing, actually, that bicycle and that car coming by. But we have different camera views as well, so we can actually change this to top-down view, backup view, parallel parking mode, so now we can see the edge of the road, the edge of a sidewalk, that sort of thing. Works in forwards as well, so there's our front wheels, and if I turn the steering wheel, it shows, you know, where the wheels are going to be. So curbing your rims, it shouldn't really ever happen in this vehicle because there's just so many camera angles. That just shouldn't happen, guys. Now, if I go into the settings here, we can change some of the settings with the camera. So the top view parking guidelines, rear view parking guidelines, and of course we can turn on and off the parking distance warning here as well. So lots of configuration and great resolution on those cameras. All right, before I go over the infotainment system, I just want to talk about some of the other things in the car first. So we have the rear view screen here. Now, if you don't like the rear view camera, you can flip this to a regular mirror just like that. But it is also auto dimming, so that's why this switch just controls that functionality. We have the garage door buttons on the bottom here, so garage doors and gates. And then over on this side, you have the adjustment for the brightness, so you can increase or decrease the brightness, and you can also raise and lower the image as well as needed. So that's pretty cool. Now, there's also a sensor right here for the auto dimming capability. And that's pretty much it to talk about there. This, obviously you move this manually, but the cool thing about the camera system is you never really need to move this. It's just always in the right orientation. Up here you can see we have a couple of icons. This one here will quickly record with the built-in dash cam system. It'll record the cameras for you. So this is pretty cool. So this vehicle has dash cam capability. Somewhere in here, there it is, dash cam. So what's nice about this dash cam system is it's just built into the car, and it'll record onto a local hard drive. Yeah, if we go to the little menu here, you can see delete all. So 17 hours of available recording time. We can go delete all if we want to just clean out the dash cam. That just erases all stored videos. And then of course we have setting. We're going to get to this, but anyway, so that's the built-in dash cam, and you can enable a quick record, like an emergency record right here. So if you see something happen on the road, press that button, and it'll record all cameras, or at least is it all cameras? Maybe just the front and back. Looks like just the front and back. It'll record those cameras for you, sort of like the last 30 seconds and 30 seconds ahead or something like that. Right next to that, we have a call for roadside assistance, which of course will use your Blue Link capability. And then we have call for emergency assistance, which is also automatic, so the airbags deploy. It'll actually call emergency services to your location. We have individual map lights here, so you press a little button there, that turns the map lights on and off. This is all the lights in the car. This is all the lights in the car when the doors open. And there's your right map light. We have control for the sunroof. So if I press that back, sunroof goes open. It is just a manual shade here because it's just a manual or just a regular sized sunroof. So I guess there was no point in putting an automatic shade there, but the rear does have an automatic shade. So if I press that, that will now close the rear sunshade. I can press it again if I want to stop it anywhere along the way as well, which is kind of cool. Sun visors both slide and they both have mirrors and they both have lights, so that's all good. All right, let's talk about the infotainment system. We'll go over everything on the infotainment screen. So this is going to be a pretty long part of the video, but I'll try to get through it quickly for you. All right, so we're going to start on the far left-hand side here, but first I'm going to go ahead and move this back to where we had it at the start. So let's put it back there. So by default, when you get a vehicle like this, this is how it's going to look when you first go ahead and power it up. So on the screen right now, on the left-hand side, we have a little mini map. Now, before you ask the question, no, you can't change the color of the background of that map. However, in here, this will go dark at night. So this will change color at night. During the day, though, this is what it looks like. You can't change that. So on here, on the bottom right, we've got a quick access for our home location, as well as a favorite, so we can kind of bring up our favorites and kind of quickly choose them from there as well. And then, yeah, the mini map just kind of shows you an overview of what's going on. On the top left-hand corner, currently it says driver 1 because there's, as I mentioned before, there are multiple driver profiles. So if I tap that, it's going to bring up the option to change the user, or I can go to my user settings where I can change the profile image, the name of the driver, security options, the Blue Link account that driver is associated with, etc. So that's pretty cool. If I hit the little menu there, I can go directly to profile settings, or I can open up the online manual by scanning this QR code, which will take me directly to the all menus section in regard to that. So that's pretty cool. So anytime you scan the QR code, it kind of goes to the thing that you're in your manual. Let me try to explain that a little differently. Let's say we're in the map, okay, and I go into the menu and I go to online manual. So now if I were to scan this, it's going to take me to the map section of the electronic manual. Pretty cool. Okay, the other thing on this screen right at the moment is the current media that is playing. Right now, no media is playing. So if I tap this, it's going to ask me, okay, what media do you want to play? And the options are AM, FM, Sirius XM satellite, Bluetooth audio, USB music. So that would be like with a USB stick. Sounds of nature, which is hilarious. It's not actual sounds of nature. It is, but then it's also accompanied with music, which I think is silly. But there's a lot of different options in here. Okay, there's a few different options in here. And it also uses Bose center point. So I believe this is a 12 or a 13 speaker Bose audio system. Subwoofer in the back, center channel up front. Really good audio in this, especially with that Bose center point. It sounds phenomenal. But anyway, going back to the screen here. So that is your little media access. Trailer options. So if we tap that, it has a trailer mode, as I mentioned, so we can turn that on with the trailer mode button as well. We can customize what type of trailer we're pulling, the weight of the trailer, that sort of thing. It has a little checklist in here, which is kind of cool, so you can make sure you get all of the 8 steps right before you actually take off on your trailering journey. And then we also have different settings for trailering, so trailer connection notification. So when you plug in a trailer, it's going to say, hey, we've recognized that there's a trailer plugged in. And then I can go straight to the driver assistance screen from here as well, because of course some of the driver assistance functionality will be changed and different when you're pulling a trailer. So obviously, for instance, when your trailer is connected, you're not going to have, in your parking safety, you're not going to have the, where is it here? Provides warning and vehicle control when risk of collision is detected. You're not going to have that automatic braking when you're backing up if you have a trailer, for obvious reasons, because it's going to think that the trailer is an object that you don't want to hit. So it automatically disables that sort of stuff. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's the trailering screen. If we swipe, actually before I swipe over to the left, Couple other things, you'll notice along the bottom here, there's 4 little lines. That's just to indicate that there are 4 separate screens. So if I go across, it's showing us which of the 4 screens we're in. So that's what that is. You have the clock in the top right. Now, if you tap the clock, you can change the time. You can enable and disable daylight savings time from here, which is nice. So you don't have to necessarily go into settings to get to the clock settings. You can just tap the clock and that'll bring the clock settings up. We've got the date, and then if you swipe down from the top, you can get the quick control menu. Now the quick control menu is also customizable, so there may be some things in here that you never use, and there may be some things that you use quite often. If you have kids, especially if you have kids all the way in the 3rd row, you may use passenger talk quite a bit. So this actually allows you to talk to the passengers in the very, very back of the vehicle. It'll take your voice through the microphone up in the ceiling, and it'll pipe it out through the speakers in the back, and you can change the volume here as well. So I don't know if you can hear that, probably not, but it's kind of echoing here a little bit. So that is passenger talk. You can put the vehicle into quiet mode, or the stereo into quiet mode. That will shut off all of the speakers in the back of the car, and it will limit the volume in the speakers in the front of the car, as well as navigation guidance, navigation alerts, that sort of thing. You have the screen brightness here, which you can have on auto, or you can just manually control it. Split screen, that is the ability to have a little mini screen come up on the right hand side, which I'll show you momentarily, and then the display off basically just turns off the screen. So if we go to settings though, now we can enable and disable different things within the quick screen. So if I, for instance, turn on, oh, there's not enough space. Let me get rid of, I don't know, navigation alerts. If I turn on dash cam here and hit done, now we can see the dash cam in the quick menu. So if I want to quickly record manually or put a time lapse on, that's kind of cool. You can do a time lapse with the dash cam. You can do that from here. So that's really cool. So the little mini map, or the mini screen I was talking about, if I bring up the map here, you can see there's our mini split screen. I can shove that off the screen or bring it back into the screen. There are multiple things that we can look at within this little mini screen, and the mini screen will come up whenever you're in the map or the radio if you have it enabled. So if I switch over to the radio, let's do that. There we go. We have our mini screen up, and you'll notice now it's the map, but if I switch to the map, it'll switch back to something else. Okay, so let's go back to the home screen. We'll swipe over to the left now, and the next thing to look at in here is the hybrid screen. In the hybrid screen, you can see we have our history for fuel economy, as well as how long the electric motor was used. Again, ignore the fuel economy rating on here right now, because that is going to be inaccurate because of the fact that the vehicle has done a lot of standing around and not moving. It's obviously going to be very inaccurate. But trust me, you will get better fuel efficiency than this. On my last review of the luxury hybrid, I was getting less than 7 liters per 100 kilometers, which is absolutely phenomenal fuel economy for a vehicle of this size. Now, also in here, you'll notice on the right, we have that bigger image as to what's going on with the engine, the electric motor, the battery, that sort of thing. If I hit the little settings icon here, I can enable stay mode. I can also activate stay mode upon arrival at a set destination. So stay mode, enable stay mode when vehicle is in park. To turn off stay mode, press the start button. Stay mode uses the vehicle's battery to operate convenience features when the vehicle is stopped. That means that the electronic equipment, audio, lighting, and climate features can also be used without the engine idling. So that's basically what that's going to do, is it's going to use the hybrid battery to keep all of the electronics running but not turn the engine on. That's pretty awesome. And then we can actually have it automatically turn on stay mode at a set destination. So it displays a pop-up window to start stay mode when the vehicle is put into park after arriving at a destination that has been set in the navigation system. This feature prioritizes charging the battery before reaching your destination, which may affect fuel economy and charge level. Pretty cool little feature there, especially if you go to, let's say you're going to the pet store and you have a dog in the car. Well, maybe when you get to the pet store every time, you're taking your dog with you, but you're not necessarily bringing your dog into the pet store. Stay mode allows your dog to remain in the car and be safe, because the air conditioning, the HVAC system will remain turned on, but the engine will be off. So that's just, it's kind of like a dog mode in a hybrid. That's kind of a neat feature. Okay, if we go to the menu here, we can reset this graph. Let's do that. And also we have the option of going straight to the user manual, which talks about the hybrid system right in that page. So if I were to scan that, it takes us directly to that page. Pretty cool. And that's pretty much it in the hybrid screen. All right, next one over is phone. Now, phone, of course, is not going to work unless we have a phone connected, but that's pretty straightforward stuff. You know, phone somebody, find your contacts in your contact list, that sort of thing. Phone projection will be Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, and it is wireless, so you don't need to plug your phone in, but you can still plug your phone in if you want using the USB port down on the center console. Voice memo. Basically, this just records your voice and it allows you to play it back later. And it has 128 megabytes of available storage. Basically, if you just want to remind yourself to do something, that's what you can do from there. Seats. This is pretty awesome. From here, we can control the seats in the vehicle, so the rear seats. So if I want to, for instance, turn on the heated seat in the back, I can do that from here, both the second and the third row, or the ventilated seats in the second row. So if you have somebody sitting in the second row and they just can't figure out how to do it, you can do it from here for them. Also, you can move the seats forwards and backwards right from here as well. And you can do that for the second row. And the third row you can fold down, which is kind of cool. You can only move the second row seats forwards backwards. You cannot move the third row seats forwards backwards, but you can fold them down and fold them up. Now, one thing you can do is you can change the, well, here's your seat recline for the second row. And then the seat recline for the third row is just kind of in here already. So yeah, there's so many different options. You can kind of do everything all at once. Put all the seats up. Yeah, lots of capabilities from here. Relax mode, you can enable and disable relax mode for the second row. And then walk-in mode, so that basically means if you have somebody getting into the third row, you can fold the seat out of the way for them right from here. Awesome capabilities. Now, if I go into, well, that's actually pretty much it here. And then the settings, you have seat settings in the menu. So seating easy access, that's for the front seat. So if you want the seat to move back when you shut the car off. Front passenger seat, easy access. So move the front passenger seat automatically to assist in exiting and entering the vehicle. So not only will you have seat access, easy seat access for the driver, but also the passenger. That's pretty cool. And that's pretty much it for, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the seat settings here. That, well, no, that's the easy access settings. Seat position change alert. This is kind of cool. So if we enable that, now if I move the seat, it's actually going to tell me exactly what I'm doing with the seat. How cool is that? Lumbar support, up and down, bolster. Yeah. So everything that I do on my seat now is going to be referenced on the screen. Comfortable stretch activity notification. So when comfortable stretch activated, operation information will be displayed along with seat image. So what is comfortable stretch? So basically what that is when you're driving, after a while, the seat will start to move. And the reason for that is because they want to basically prevent seat fatigue. So sitting in a seat for a long period of time, you kind of get that numb butt feeling. So this will kind of help to avoid that. It'll also turn on the massage seating for you as well. Smart Sport, so activates and operates when sport mode is on or when driving at high speed. So basically the bolsters are going to turn in and the seat's going to tilt down a little bit. And then if I go to Ergo Motion Seat, here's our comfortable stretch thing. So intensity, normal or strong. Session length, 10, 15, or 20 minutes. I believe it comes on after 60 minutes unless you press that button on the door that I showed you earlier. Let me see here. We got Smart Posture Assist. So activates the Posture Assist feature for an hour. Sorry, after 1 hour of driving. Oh, there we go. There's the Smart Posture Assist. Whew, there's just so much to talk about here. It's crazy. Lumbar stabilization helps relieve lumbar fatigue while driving. You can set that as well. I'm going to go ahead and put that on 30 minutes. So the seat's going to start moving and massaging after 30 minutes. Man, there's just so much. Okay, so let's leave that section. We'll go back to the seat screen and back right out of there. So that is the seats section. Setup, we're going to get to in a bit. I'll slide over to the next one here. So dash cam, so we looked at dash cam earlier. Yeah, I'm not going to go over this whole thing again, but I am going to have a quick look. So this is the motion activated camera that came on when I had somebody walk up to the side of the car and start talking to me. So it recorded video for quite a while. It's too bad it doesn't show the side cameras. That's unfortunate. It's just the front and rear cameras there. I do like that it maintains its position though. So we're at 5 minutes and 34 seconds. If I switch to the front camera, it's still at that same timestamp. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, pretty neat that it's capable of recording front and rear cameras. Unfortunately, it doesn't record the side cameras. That's too bad. Okay, weather. So weather will work with BlueLink activated. Basically, it'll tell you your local weather. It's pretty cool. Valet mode, same thing, needs BlueLink to function. And that's just if you hand the keys over to valet, it's going to reduce their access to the vehicle. Vehicle diagnostics, again, requires BlueLink, but if you have a problem with the car, you can kind of run a quick scan from there. Service maintenance, same idea, requires BlueLink. Just a service interval reminder and kind of a little bit of information about what you need to do when you're at your next service, that sort of thing. HD radio data. So HD radio data provides traffic information, so local traffic information in the area, what's going on, is there any traffic problems around. It also gives you, let's go back to that, Doppler radar for the weather in the area. So this will just show you basically if it's raining somewhere nearby, okay? And then fuel prices, this is probably the best one, especially if you have a hybrid. You still want to save your fuel. You can use regular gas in this vehicle. You don't need like mid-grade or premium or anything like that. But it basically shows you the prices of all of the fuel locations in your area. So for instance, the cheapest one I saw was $1.47 a liter, which is this one, this Esso here, which is only 0.6 miles away. Not sure why it's using miles here. We need to change that into kilometers. But if I hit go, it's going to immediately plot that in the navigation system, and then I can hit route, and it'll navigate to the route. It's asking if we want to use BlueLink services, but again, that requires setup, so we're going to say no. And now it's going to plot that route. There we go. We can just cancel that.
Turn right.
Okay, so that is the HD radio stuff. And if we swipe over one more time, we have our notifications. Again, this is BlueLink notifications, so calendar reminders, that sort of thing you can set up with BlueLink. You can even link your calendar on BlueLink to your Google Calendar as an example. Online manual, now if I were to scan this, it just takes us to the full manual for the vehicle. Okay, let's talk about the navigation system. So again, navigation, you know, it works much better when you have BlueLink enabled. It's too bad that, you know, despite having a vehicle this capable, you still need to have a BlueLink subscription for everything to work properly. But it's a reasonably good navigation system. I would still recommend using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. But in any event, if you want to search for an address, you can just type in the address right here, or you can type in something like Hyundai if you're looking for a Hyundai dealership, or maybe you're looking for, I don't know, a Starbucks or something like that. You can find it pretty easily from there. And remember, you can use that search button down on the row of buttons below the screen to bring up this, which will also automatically search for navigation directions as well. So you don't necessarily have to press the button on the screen. And with BlueLink enabled, you can, of course, use voice recognition to navigate to specific locations. Having said all of that, I'm not going to talk about this navigation system any further because, quite frankly, it's like 5% of people that own this vehicle are going to use it, and the rest are going to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay anyway. And that's pretty much it, everything on the main screen here. So let's go over to Setup. Now, we can get to Setup by pressing this button, or we can press the button on the row of buttons down below. And don't forget, you can also customize this screen by just tapping and holding and then moving it around wherever you want it. You can even move it over to other screens. But let's go to Setup. Here's everything in Setup. So we'll start with vehicle settings. We're going to go to driver assistance, and this is all of the safety technology now. So driver assistance, and go driving convenience. We'll start with that one. So smart cruise control, we can have it adjust your smart cruise control settings automatically based on how you drive, or we can do it manually. So distance is how close you follow the vehicle in front of you, but that can be changed with that button on the steering wheel that I mentioned earlier, don't forget. Acceleration strength, so how quickly the vehicle accelerates when the vehicle in front of you is out of the way, okay? This is reaction speed, so how quickly it reacts to something that changes in front of you. So if the car in front of you moves out of the way, we want it to react quickly and start accelerating quickly to get up to the speed that you have it set to. Okay, so that's how I like it set. But basically that's it for that, okay? We'll back out. So we have highway driving assist. So assist driving on highway according to set speed and distance, keeping the vehicle centered in the lane. We have highway lane change assist. So if you're driving down the freeway and you turn your turn signal on, it will actually help you make that lane change. It'll make the lane change for you. Auto highway speed change. This I hate. Automatically adjust the vehicle speed on a highway based on navigation data. So if there's a curve coming up, it will slow the vehicle down. I love the fact that you can turn this off because quite frankly, it's too aggressive. If there's a curve coming up and it thinks you need to slow down, 9 out of 10 times, you really don't need to slow down. Like it's crazy. So yeah, I hate that system. Okay, so that's everything under driving convenience. Let's go over to driving safety. So now we have forward safety. Safety provides a warning and speed control when a risk of forward collision is detected. So of course that's for cars, pedestrians, cyclists, and cars turning in front of you as well. Forward safety warning timing, you can have it give you a warning before it will give you a warning before it hits the brakes. You can have it standard or you can have it wait to the last possible millisecond. We have forward cross-traffic safety, so provides warning and vehicle control when a risk of cross-traffic collision is detected. Not just backwards, but also in front of you. If a car crosses the street in front of you or pedestrian, it'll warn you and hit the brakes. Forward side safety provides warning and vehicle control when a risk of forward or side collision is detected. So if you're changing lanes, if it picks up a car beside you, it will provide a warning and take control to avoid a collision. Lane safety automatically assists with steering to help prevent the vehicle from leaving the lane. So that's that button on the steering wheel that you can hold down to turn that off. There we go, now it's off. I didn't touch the screen. So I'm holding that button on the steering wheel like I showed you earlier, and boom, it's now turned on again. Blind spot view monitor. That is one thing I forgot to show you guys earlier. So when you turn your turn signal on, let me show you what it looks like in the console here. Left turn signal gives you a view down the right side. Right turn signal, left, gives you a view down the left side. Right turn signal gives you a view down the right side. Pretty cool. That is your blind view monitor. So that works in conjunction with the blind spot monitor and basically protects you from vehicles in your blind spot. Safe exit assist. So that is the warning on the door for the rear doors and the warning in the mirrors when there's a vehicle in your blind spot when you're trying to open up the door. So it prevents you from accidentally opening the door up into traffic, oncoming traffic from the back. So it provides warning and door control. It'll actually stop the door from opening altogether, which is pretty cool, when an approaching vehicle is detected in the vehicle's blind spot while exiting the vehicle. Very, very good technology. That's driving safety. Driver attention warning. So this is the one that's very controversial, and I love the fact that you can turn all of this stuff off if you want. So leading vehicle departure alert. This is a nice one, actually. If the car in front of you takes off at a green light, it'll give you a little reminder saying, hey, you can go if you haven't already started to accelerate. Forward attention warning provides a warning when the driver is not looking forward. That is what uses that eye tracking sensor. And by default, you'll notice it is turned off. So if you want to turn it on, that's where you turn it on. Inattentive driver warning. It provides a warning when a sign of driver inattentiveness are detected and recommends a rest if needed. So if you're driving on a long trip and you start to get tired, the car will try to figure that out and give you a warning. This is another controversial one, and it's wonderful that you can turn that off if you want to. Okay, speed limits. So we have a speed limit assistance, speed limit warning, or we can just turn it off completely. And you can actually change the offset. So if you like to speed a little bit over the limit, you can do so. If you drive a little under the limit, please don't drive. All right, going back to this screen, we have parking safety. We have camera settings here, which we already looked at when we were looking at the camera, so we'll back out of there. There's our surround view monitor. Obviously, we want to turn that on and keep it on. Parking distance warning automatically on. So what this means is if you disable the parking distance warning, it'll turn it back on eventually. So when you turn it off, it's just a temporary thing. Rear safety provides a warning and vehicle control when a risk of collision is detected while reversing. Again, when you're trailering, that will automatically be disabled. Rear cross traffic safety provides a warning and vehicle control when a risk of a rear cross traffic collision is detected while reversing. That's vehicles and pedestrians coming across the back of you. Okay. All right, that's everything in that screen, other than the warning method. So I forgot about this. So if you press the little volume button here, you can actually have an audible warning, but you can change the volume of the audible warning. You can have a haptic warning, which is the vibration on the steering wheel. Forward attention warning sound turns the forward attention warning sound on or off. Okay, so basically if you're approaching a vehicle too quickly and it hasn't hit the brakes yet, it wants to give you a warning. It'll play a little noise. Okay, you can disable that if you want. Lane safety warning sound. Again, if you drift out of your lane, it plays that little beep, 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 beep noise. You can disable that if you want. Blind spot safety warning sound, so enables blind spot warning. Obviously you want that enabled, not sure why that was turned off. Driving safety priority lowers all other audio volumes when driving safety system sounds a warning. So if you're getting a warning and you have music turned up loud, it'll actually turn your music down to give you the audible warning. Parking safety priority lowers all audio volumes when the parking assist view is active. So as soon as it detects that you're parking using the parking sensors, it'll turn down the music volume as well. Okay, that's everything in the driver assistance screen. Okay, let's go over to drive mode. So this is where you can customize your My Drive mode. So you got powertrain and steering customization. So in My Drive, you can have it in Eco, Sport, or Smart powertrain. Smart basically will adjust based on how you're driving. And then steering, you can have it in Sport or Normal. So if you really like Eco mode, but you like to have a sporty steering, you can do that in the custom drive mode. Eco vehicle, coasting guide. Okay, that's everything in drive mode, by the way. There's really nothing else in there. Well, okay, you have brake mode, sport, or normal, and you have drive mode change alert. So now if you change the drive mode, it just shows you on here that you're changing the drive mode. Brake mode, sport, or normal is essentially here, selects brake mode, fuel responsive, optimized for your driving style. So because this is a hybrid, if you want it to always use the friction brakes, you can put this into sport mode, and then it'll always use friction brakes, not just a combination or one or the other. It'll always use friction brakes if you put it in that mode. So we'll keep that on normal because obviously regenerative mode, regenerative braking is good for your fuel efficiency. Okay, back to Eco Vehicle. So coasting guide, activate the coasting guide, help users save fuel. It displays the word coast to recommend when to release your accelerator. Start coasting, so it just suggests when to start coasting, release accelerator, save fuel. So this is all kind of a thing to help you use your hybrid to the best extent of its capabilities. Green Zone EV Drive. Maximize EV driving to protect the environment. So this will basically do its absolute best to make it as fuel efficient as humanly possible. It'll keep the engine turned off as much as possible to basically keep the air nice and clean that comes out of the exhaust. So I'm not sure how well this works, but yeah, it basically is going to reduce engine power and capability and keep you in EV mode as much as possible. All right, here's our dash cam settings, which we did see earlier. Now check this out. So check SD memory status and location, set disconnection, and reset SD memory. So yeah, so the SD card is in the glove box. It's funny, I looked for it earlier and I couldn't find it, but I guess it's in the top left corner, but that's where it is. Comes with the SD card, so that's kind of nice. And it looks like we can disconnect it so we can pull it out, or we can format it from here as well. Let's actually format it. Yes. Resetting SD card. Cool. Okay, that's everything in dash cam because we already talked about these different things. You know what? Let's double check here. Yeah, we already checked this. All these settings were in the dash cam screen as well. Climate. Okay. Recirculate air upon washer fluid use. So whenever you use the windshield washers or drive through a tunnel, it'll recirculate your climate control air, which is cool. Automatic ventilation, this is great. Automatic dehumidify, so switches to fresh air ventilation to decrease humidity after an extended use of the recirculated air. And you can also, you can turn on the automatic ventilation, but it'll do it, you can turn on scheduled ventilation, but it will also automatically ventilate the system to keep it from, growing mildew and stuff. So that's great. My Rivian doesn't even have that, so it's really nice to see that in this car. We have auto defrost, so if the windshield starts to fog up, it'll turn the defrost on automatically. And there's the air conditioner auto dry. So basically it'll automatically run the fan after the vehicle is turned off to dry the inside of the air conditioner and prevent mold growth. Love that feature. It's awesome. And we can lock out the rear controls from here as well. All right, under seats we have seat easy access, which we actually already went over. Yep, we did all of this already. Okay, we'll go to lights then. Ambient lighting, check this out. So we can change the brightness of the ambient lighting. We can change the color of the ambient lighting. As I mentioned, there are 64 available colors. Actually, I didn't mention that yet, but yeah, 64 available colors, and there's where you would change them. Just press OK, and now our ambient light is red. Pretty cool. Our one-touch turn signal, we can put that on 5 flashes. So now if we touch the turn signal, it'll flash 5 times. Welcome mirror light, so as you approach the vehicle, the light will come on in the door handle. It doesn't actually have puddle lights, not sure why it's showing a puddle light there. It'll also fold out the mirrors as well. Headlight delay, it keeps the headlights on for 15 seconds after you shut the car off and walk away from it. Lighting patterns, so this is interesting. So display the vehicle name in a shining image. Okay, I had to stop and look this up to figure out what this is. So you can see the little sort of display thing that's happening with the lights here. This is what comes with the vehicle. It's basically a pattern of light. When you approach the vehicle, it kind of does this little light dance. Now, when you scan this QR code, it takes you to a website where you can download different patterns. And it looks like in the future they're going to have paid for patterns, but currently there are 3 that you can choose from that you can download and add to the vehicle that are totally free. And it goes through your BlueLink account to kind of set that up. So that's interesting. It doesn't display, it's funny, it says it displays the vehicle name in a shining image. I don't think it displays a name or anything. It's just basically going to change the way that the lights do a little dance. That's the first I've seen that on a Hyundai. From what it looks like, though, the Ioniq 9 has that as well, but I don't remember seeing this option on the Ioniq 9. So, I don't know. Comment below if you've seen that. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so that's lighting patterns. Now we have also high beam assistance and interior lighting always on. Of course, when you open the door, lights come on. Interior buttons and switches are all illuminated at all times during the daytime, of course. So that's all of your console lights. The only reason you'd want to turn that off is if you had silver buttons where you could barely see the wording on the buttons when the lights were on. This car doesn't have any silver buttons, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, going to door, we have auto unlock, auto lock, 2-press remote unlock, which is fine if you didn't have digital key, but with digital key, you don't really want to have that turned on. Unlock and approach or touch. So select which door or doors unlock when you approach the vehicle with the smart key or digital key, or press the door button. So you can have that set to unlock all doors or just the driver's door. So that's kind of cool because it's approach unlock. It'll unlock itself as you approach the vehicle. Power lift gate, so of course that's power lift gate. We can change the speed at which it opens, we can change the height at which it opens, and we can enable and disable the smart tailgate function, smart lift gate function. So if you stand behind the vehicle for 4 seconds, it opens up. And open vehicle windows remotely, so that's kind of cool. So you can use your key fob. If you hold down the unlock button, the windows will open, all 4 windows. You can't roll the windows back up though, at least not in Canada. You can in some countries, not in Canada. Just opens the windows remotely. Okay, digital keys. This is where you can store your smartphone as a key, and if you get a card key, you can set that up here as well. You can purchase those separately at your dealership. And then under convenience, we have rear occupant alert. So if there's kids left in the car or dogs left in the car will tell you that in BlueLink that, hey, you left your kid in the car. Service interval is pretty obvious. Oil change reminder, pretty obvious. Wireless charging system for mobile devices, you can enable and disable that. And here's where you can turn on the auto rear wipers. So if your front wipers are on and you put the vehicle into reverse, your rear wipers will turn on. We also have a menu here that takes you directly to the online manual. And that's everything under vehicle settings. Back out one more, here we go. Now we have our navigation settings. We can display vehicle speed in the navigation system. We can display traffic info in this navigation system. We can show traffic in various colors in the navigation system. We can show points of interest on the map and fuel prices on the map. That's pretty cool. We can even choose whether we want it to default to premium, mid-grade, or regular, and that's all built into the navigation system. So, like I said, it's a good nav system. I just don't think a lot of people are going to use it. Okay, sound we have. Sound True provides an improved soundstage and dynamic experience for compressed audio files. So this is great if you have music on your phone or a flash drive, like MP3s that are really small, so they're highly compressed. This will increase their sound quality, basically. That's pretty nice. It might also work for satellite music, possibly satellite radio, because satellite radio is pretty highly compressed. Dynamic speed compensation, so the faster you go, the louder it gets to a point. Startup maximum volume limit, obviously we want to turn that on, so if you crank the music, the next person that gets in the car isn't going to have a heart attack. Pretty cool. Okay. Position is just where the sound's coming from. Tone is your treble, bass, mid-range. Pretty straightforward. Guidance levels, so this is your navigation volume levels. Radio noise, this will filter out static from FM stations. Driver assistance, so you can change the volume levels from here. This is what we saw earlier when we were in the driver assistance settings. And connected devices, such as your volume levels for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Device connections, this is where you could connect a phone for either wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, or just Bluetooth. User profiles is where you can customize your user profile. We were looking at that briefly earlier. Voice recognition, you can reduce the number of voice recognition prompts. So if you're getting really good with voice recognition, you can make it so that it doesn't ask you a whole bunch of stuff when you're talking to it. And you can also lock out the rear seat voice recognition from here if you wanted to as well. Screen layout, this is kind of nice. So we have our simple, modern, and classic gauge styles. So now we need to move the camera over to the instrument cluster so you can see what that looks like. So there is classic. So you'll notice now we have the analog speedometer on the left, or modern, or simple. And we can also change the style. So we have style A, style B, and style C. And in classic, those of course look a little different as well. So style C, style A, and style B. Not sure why I said it like that. And then we have, that's pretty much it for that screen, by the way. All right, so screensaver, we can have it on none. It's not really a screensaver, it's just a clock. So let's choose a clock face. So let's say that one. If I turn the screen off now, it's going to show me a clock. That's all that is. Split screen, this is where you can enable and disable different things in that little mini screen. All right, let's go out to the next one. So that would be display. So under display, we can change the display brightness. We can have that set to automatically adjust. Sorry, I just moved my seat, which is why I did that. We can go to camera settings from here as well, and blue light filter. This is kind of cool. So if you want the blue lights to be filtered out, you can do that automatically or at a set time during the day. So pretty cool. Next one over is buttons. So this is where we can change the custom buttons. So the custom button on the steering wheel, custom button down on the center there, the mode button on the steering wheel, which, oh, that's right, I guess I haven't talked about all the buttons on the steering wheel yet. Well, this would be a good time to do that. So mode on the steering wheel is this guy right here. So that allows you to cycle through the different locations of music, okay? And you can change what locations of music you're actually wanting to use. So if you only listen to AM and FM music, you can have the mode button cycle between those two things. So that's what that button is for there. Right below that is next track or previous track, or next station, previous station, or scan up, scan down. It kind of depends on how you have that set. This one here, again, is also customizable, so there's the options for that. I like to just have that on end phone call, reject or end call, so that way if you get a phone call, you don't want to answer it, you have a button that you can press to hang up. The one right next to that is the hang up button. Above that is the volume button, which is also a mute if you press it. And then we have the voice recognition button there. That's all. All right. So yeah, you can basically customize all of the different things. So here's that, the up and down. You can either have it to change favorite station channel or change station or frequency. So that's what that is. You can also swap buttons around. So you got your volume tuning knobs. Those are the round knobs. The left one currently is on volume and power, and the right one is currently to browse media or zoom your map in and out. But you can actually swap that around and then use the left knob to do the map thing in the browse media. So yeah, some good customization there. Okay, oh, I backed out a little too far here. Cluster head-up display. So this is where you can change, again, your cluster brightness. So we were already looking at the cluster settings. There's multiple different ways to get to different places. There's our theme selection, content selection. Here's where you can enable and display disable the things that pop up. So wiper lights display. So that was, remember earlier I showed where you turn on the wipers, it shows you what setting you're on. You can actually set it up so that it doesn't do that. Icy road warning, so when the temperature gets below 4 degrees Celsius, it tells you that there's potentially ice on the road. And then the blind spot view monitor you can enable and disable from here as well. Check that out, lower back pain relief thing, it just finished. It just went on because I've been sitting in the car for so long. Pretty awesome. Head-up display, so here's where you can adjust that. So you can enable or disable it. You can adjust its height, rotation, brightness, and then also, check this out, automatically save HUD, height, and rotation settings. So a lot of people ask why the eye tracking sensor thing seems to always be on even when you disable eye tracking. It's because it's looking at where your head placement is and adjusting the HUD accordingly. That's pretty cool. Okay, and then we also have content selection, so we can have turn-by-turn directions, media information, call information, driving assistance information, and blind spot safety information all come up on the head-up display. Pretty cool. Okay, next one over is BlueLink. So this is just where you would activate BlueLink or just look at the details, modem information, that sort of thing. Under General is where you'll find your software update capability. Now this, I believe, yeah, it does have over-the-air updates, okay? You need BlueLink active for that to function. You can also update via a USB stick, so that's why the option is there for that. Other stuff in here, let's see here. This is, of course, the new CCNC platform. You get your firmware information, map date, that sort of thing. Vehicle function version, we have that, which I don't even know what that means. Info device version, this is all the devices in the vehicle and their versions. Wow, crazy. Enable automatic vehicle function updates. So automatically download and install vehicle function update files. Yeah, why wouldn't that be turned on? System info, we can see how much storage capacity we have. Now again, that's only 128 megabytes. That's not for the dash cam. That's just for the stuff that you can store on there. Or if you pause, for instance, you can pause music playback on satellite radio, but that'll use that space up as well. We have modem information from here. What's new? So since the last vehicle update, it'll show you the information that's new from there. Date and time settings, again, we were already looking at that earlier. Simply by tapping the time, it'll take you into here. Language, of course, you can change from English, Francais, Espanol, or this is Korean. I don't know how to say Korean in Korean. And then under keyboard, we can change the keyboard type. So we're all familiar with QWERTY, of course. We can even change to Korean keyboard if we want, and then we can also change the default keyboard from English Latin to Korean. So yeah, lots of customization, a lot of Korean stuff in there. We have our distance speed units, kilometers, miles, temperature Fahrenheit, kilometers per liter, liters per 100 kilometers, PSI, KPA, and bar. Under media options, media off at vehicle startup, or continue to play media when the vehicle is turned off. And then we can do a full reset from here as well. Whew, I think that's everything about this screen. Now, I did make some grammatical errors while speaking there, so if you got that, I apologize. When you're talking this much about one thing, it starts to get a little tongue twisty, so rather than do 6,000 takes, I'm just gonna, work my way through them. All right, let's take this thing for a drive. Now, this is not going to be a full drive review because I have done that already on the luxury version of this, and quite frankly, they drive exactly the same way. But I'm going to include this into this video just so you can see a little bit without having to go view that other video. However, if you would like to see the full review of the drive, please, by all means, check out the link in the description below to the luxury version where you can see the full drive review. So first off, you can see I've got the beautiful camera system up here. Backup camera looks fantastic. Got the top-down view. I can switch, of course, to the three-dimensional view here if I need to. But I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start by doing just some city roads here. You can see I've got my digital rear view mirror turned on as well. Now this vehicle does have the sort of dual pane glass in the front and the front side windows. I'm not sure if it has it everywhere though. I'll have to double check my notes on that. Now, as far as power, this one does have, of course, more power than the standard calligraphy, the non-hybrid. The combination of the electric motor in here and the gas engine together does, of course, provide more horsepower, as I mentioned earlier. One thing I got wrong on my luxury review is that I said it had an 8-speed transmission. It does not. It has a 6-speed transmission. However, it is a good old-fashioned transmission. Now, some people don't like the rear view, the digital rear view mirror. I quite like it. I think it works great. The only time it doesn't work all that spectacularly is when you're just backing up. For that, you're going to want to use the backup camera, just the one on the instrument cluster. And the reason for that is because this screen, it's a little bit too zoomed in, like it's too close to the objects that are behind you. Everything looks like it's closer than it actually is, but other than that, when you're just driving sort of normally on the street, it works fantastic. It works really, really well. And what's cool about the lens, actually, it's hydrophobic. So even if it's raining, this actually stays nice and clear. The only thing I'm not sure of is how long that hydrophobic coating lasts. I don't know if it's a coating or if it's just something special about the glass. During training, they just call it a hydrophobic lens camera. So I don't know, again, if that's a coating or not, but it'd be pretty cool if it was just the glass on the lens happened to be hydrophobic. That would be awesome. Now, in front of me, I can see the head-up display. The head-up display, unfortunately, is polarized, and so I'm using polarized lenses. It is a lot harder to see with polarized sunglasses on. However, you can increase the brightness. I'm going to go ahead and try that and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, it definitely helps a little bit if you increase the brightness. And another thing that I've noticed a lot of people complain about is the forward-facing or the eye tracking sensor. Apparently, if you're wearing polarized sunglasses, the eye tracking sensor can have trouble seeing your eyes, which makes total sense. But so far, I haven't had any complaints from the system. That is something that you can enable and disable. So if you do wear polarized sunglasses, that might be something you'd want to disable. All right, I just got a note saying brake disc cleaning off. So one thing that's really cool about hybrids, of course, is when you hit the brakes, you're not going to be using the friction brakes as much because you have regenerative braking capabilities. So basically what that means is that it's using the electric motor as a generator, which then in turn is slowing you down. It's pretty cool. One slight downside of these newer Hyundai hybrids is that there doesn't appear to be a way to increase or decrease the regenerative braking capability like there was in previous Hyundai hybrids. All right, try a little bit of acceleration here, see what that feels like. So of course, when you floor it, the engine is going to come on right away, which is pretty cool. So even in eco mode, acceleration is actually great. Nice combination of that turbocharged engine and the electric motor. All right, we'll try the lane centering capability here. So this is now on lane centering. So as you can see, steering wheel is moving itself. I've got a nice green steering wheel in the instrument cluster indicating that yes, it is turned on. I've also got a green steering wheel showing up in the head-up display indicating that the lane centering is turned on. Now, lane centering, lane keep assistance, not to be confused. One will keep you in the center of the lane. Lane keep assistance will simply keep you on the road, which means if you start to drift, and there it is, complaining that my hands aren't on the wheel. If you start to drift, essentially what will happen is it'll correct as soon as it hits either the white or the yellow line. As you can see, even at low speeds, the lane centering is working. And now it's not, because we're going through an intersection. It's lost the sides of the road, but as soon as we cross the intersection, boom, it's back on again. So very, very good lane centering capabilities. And of course it has adaptive cruise control as well. So the adaptive cruise control, it's full stop and go capability, and it works at any speed as well. You don't need to, be on the highway or whatever to use that. Now on the highway, Subsequently, you do have highway drive assistance, which is far more capable than just your typical lane centering, lane keep assistance, and adaptive cruise control. It uses all of those technologies combined to basically pilot you down the highway. And it doesn't require any mapped highways as well. One thing that I can't stand about my Rivian, as an example, is that the only place that the highway assist works is where the roads have been mapped by Rivian, and quite frankly, it's absolutely terrible in comparison. This works anywhere on any highway, whereas the mapped highway system, you have to be on a mapped highway. And the downside of that is you could be driving along and suddenly the highway might not be mapped anymore. So my truck, for instance, will just give me a warning saying, hey, highway assistance is being shut off. You know, you need to take control. And it gets really, really loud about it for obvious reasons. All right, so I'm going to turn off lane centering, and I'll give you a quick preview of what happens with just the lane keep assistance. Now, lane keep assistance only works at speeds over about 60 kilometers an hour, and assuming that the camera in the front can see the edge of the road and the center line, or one or the other or whatever. It doesn't work everywhere. It's not a it's not a perfect technology. They are still, improving, obviously. But right now it's working. I can see the green car between the two lines here. So I'm going to go ahead and drift over this line a little bit, and you'll see what happens. All right, so I just got a beeping, and the steering wheel actually vibrated, and it also kind of shoved me back over to the towards the center. Now, if I go to the right, same thing. Even though there's no line on the right, it was still able to pick up the side, the edge of the road, and the lane keep assist kind of shoved me back towards the center. It didn't center me in the lane, but it just kind of said, hey, get over there. So pretty cool. Now, as far as the seat comfort, on a long drive, it's hard to compete with these seats. They're phenomenal. Of course, the driver's seat has that massage capability as well. But what's really nice about it is when you hit a certain speed, the bolsters actually will hug a little bit. They'll get a little bit tighter. And of course, I can adjust that on the side of my seat as well. Very, very comfortable seats. They're firm, but not hard. There's just enough give to make it comfortable, but on a long trip when you need a little bit of a firm seat, it has that as well. So really, really nice. I believe they're still using soy-based foam, so that's kind of cool. So that's a natural product, and it does actually do a really, really good job at getting a little bit softer the longer you sit in it. So as that foam sort of warms up, it becomes a little bit softer. It kind of form fits to your body. Well, this is an absolutely beautiful area. Beautiful fall colors today, as you can see. I've been waiting to do this video for a nice day. We've had a lot of rain, and it's finally cleared up, so I'm glad I was able to take you with me on this trip. All right, guys, well, that is the 2026 Palisade Calligraphy, specifically the NHL version, which does get this slightly different color interior and the matte finish exterior, but even the non-NHL versions are going to be pretty much identical. All of the features are the same. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I know it was a longer video, so if you've made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Until next time, take care.